blessing to be here with you all. My name is Brown. My medicine name is Brother Bear. And I'm here to share with you whatever wants to really come through tonight. I always kind of try to plan a little bit what I'm going to say or what I'm going to share. And right before, I revisit my notes, and I know that the moment I get up here, everything's just going to kind of disappear, and whatever wants to come through is going to come through. So once again, thank you for coming. And that's quite a question, who am I? I am this, I am that. I am a practicing curandero. I've studied in the Amazon rainforest with traditional healers to practice the natural medicine traditions of the Amazon. So the traditional healers are many different names, depending on the tribe and the indigenous group. The kind of modern generalized name across South America would be curandero, and that term means one who cures, one who heals with natural remedies and the mysteries of the natural world. So a curandero is one who communes with nature. Many people refer to the indigenous healers from indigenous groups around the world as shamans. This term is also a generalization because it doesn't have roots in North America nor South America. It has roots in Siberia, and so there's a whole tradition around that. But yet there are some similarities that can be drawn, some generalizations that can be drawn between indigenous peoples and indigenous practices from around the world. And many of them have practices where they honor and commune with the spirits of nature, and honor and revere the spirits of nature, meaning the plants, meaning the animals, meaning the elements, the wind, the water, the earth, and the fire, as messengers or as doorways, gateways to the divine realms. So this is a big part of our practice. You're going to hear tonight from my wife as well, Pamela. We lived in the Amazon in Peru for about 10 years. And right now we're living in the U.S., but we still have our place down there, and I'll be back down in the Amazon in about a month. We've done the bulk of our training in these traditions in the Amazon jungle. And it's a long, many of you know me and know Pamela and have heard our story. Some of you are new to us. Can you put your hand up if you don't know us or you've never sat with us in ceremony? Okay, wonderful. So there's a number of new faces. So I'll give just a little bit of an introduction. Of course, we all have these long meandering journeys. We could say, oh, I did this for 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, and I'm somehow this. But yet, what we do and what we bring, any of us, are medicine. This is, we call this event the medicine affair. We really believe fully in this practice and this work that we do has taught us 100% that every single person and every single being not only has medicine, but is medicine. So let's just take a moment and let's just sit with this for just a moment, that you are medicine. What does that mean? What is medicine? Can anybody answer that question? Does it mean you taste bad? Sometimes. Anybody? What is medicine? Yeah. Presence of love, sure. Anything else?
Space.
Space. who are we? You know, I think this is a question that, you know, people have been asking throughout time. Who am I and what am I? These kinds of questions have, you know, sent me and sent my wife and so many others into some really deep internal investigations and journeys. You know, at different times in our lives we can say, well, I am this, and it's something that's very definable. Okay, well, I'm human. And what else am I? Okay, I am love, right? I am the divine, okay? And as we explore deeper and deeper, the more profound question actually is, what are we not? So, also, what is medicine not? Right? That's a really valid question, because we can look at the challenges that we experience in life, and we can say, oh, that was a bad experience. You know, we can look at trauma. We can look at the things that happened to us when we were younger, that, or at different times in our lives, that were really challenged, that pushed us to our absolute brink and our breaking points. And we can say that was bad, and we can turn our backs on that. And at some point in life, our beings will call for us to evolve. And part of that evolution is opening up to the possibilities that those things that happened that we deemed as bad or as negative were actually medicine for us. Now, I believe that we've all come here on a mission. Okay, and that mission evolves, and that's this ongoing process. Where do we come from? This is another very valid question, and we could trace that back to things that we know, to moments and points of time and the point of time of our own birth. And then, what else, right? And so the shamanic work, you know, when we say shamanic work, again, this is kind of a generalization, but really the one thing that drew me into an attraction to shamanism from a pretty young age. I didn't really know what the term was until I was around 16, 17, and was going through my own hardships and difficult times, and I encountered a book at the Barnes & Noble bookstore on soul retrieval, and it caused me to look within, and it caused me to question, what is a soul? What is this? What is this all about? What is it that happens, you know, when something happens to us and then we feel like something's missing? You know, when we're in a relationship and then there's a loss and we feel maybe a hole in our life. Or we grow up and we don't receive the love or the care or the nurturance or the support that we feel like we needed to grow and develop into who we know we are on the inside. Right? These are all these internal investigations of who we are and where we come from and what is medicine and why are we here and what are we meant for. Yeah? And so when I started, you know, learning about shamanism, one thing that really attracted me was this idea that it's all about a unique journey. That there's no one that sets the rules for us, and such is life. That it's about this pursuit, and it's about this journey and this exploration, and asking questions, and this curiosity, this profound curiosity. Because people will tell us, and we can read 1,000 books and more, and they'll tell us, you are this, you are that. And for a little while that might suffice. And we might believe it, and we might find security in that belief. But at some point, we're going to arrive at a point where that all gets blown out of the water, where that definition doesn't suffice anymore, any longer. And we have to ask the question again, and we feel lost. And I'm here to just share that because we're all at different stages in our journey, and there's not like someone's more advanced and someone's less, and we're all on this journey. And there are many times in life that we feel lost, and most people, when we feel lost, we feel disconnected, we feel like not enough, we feel like not purposeful, right? But yet it's the process of losing ourselves that allows us to find ourselves again. And that process of losing ourselves allows us to find ourselves again in a new way, to redefine, to maybe get a little bit of a different and a greater and a grander and a more expanded perspective on who and what we are. It's so fascinating because if you look at so many of the indigenous cultures, many of the things that are coming out in quantum physics and modern science about epigenetics, about ancestral memory. Now they're tracing back, and they can somehow prove that our memories that we're carrying within our biology go back 7 generations. And we know that it goes back, I know in my being that it goes back much further than that. But that science, they're now coming to this conclusion that we can prove that you have memories from your great, 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 great grandparents. And those memories are on one level, they're in our faces. We can see our ancestry in our eyes and our noses and our ears and our complexions and in all these different ways. And at the same time, we have these emotions, some things that arise that we're feeling that we can't necessarily trace back to a particular and a definitive point in time. We might feel like, wow, I know for me, when I was starting and embarking on the work with the medicines in the Amazon, I started to ask the questions. I was like, wow, I've had this feeling of grief for a long time. And I could trace it to points in time, but it always felt like it was not the beginning of it. I felt there was this deep sense of shame, and I didn't know where it came from. And I searched, and I could find all these points and all these memories, but yet it never seemed to get to the beginning, because it would go so far back. It's like, well, I was so little, that wasn't mine, I started to realize. But these are emotional memories that come from times of famine, that come from times of war, that come from all of these different experiences, separation, arguments, violence, alcoholism, all these different things that happen within each of our families that we have tried to construct our lives to avoid. Yet there's these feelings, and there's these memories, and there's even these thoughts that are happening in ourselves on a regular basis. The indigenous people have known this for a long, long time. And they have constructed ceremonies and practices and rituals to help people to go into that so that we can accept it, for one, and also realize that it's not who and what we are. Because for a while, it starts to feel like all of those thoughts and all of those memories and all of those feelings that we can't seem to escape are us. And that's the most depressing thing, I think, that people can go through, when you feel like it's stuck. Like, I'm stuck with this. This is me. And so this transformational work that we started getting into, and I started getting into at a relatively young age in my life, in my teenage years, and my explorations of psychedelics, which really saved me from some really deep depression, from suicidal ideations. And one of the things that came to me very clearly was that what I felt was my curse was actually my medicine. What I felt was my curse was actually my medicine. And I didn't understand that yet. I didn't have You know, in ancient cultures, we had tribes, we had the elders who were there to teach us about all things spiritual, right? To teach us about our ancestors, to teach us about the old ways, to teach us how to live in harmony with the land. And so much of that has been lost in our society. To teach us about the wisdom of the wind, to teach us about the wisdom of the fire and the wisdom of the water and the wisdom of earth, the wisdom of walking barefoot on the earth, the wisdom of the ancient songs which come from a space which cannot be exactly detected, but yet it's a channel. The medicine path has taught me that we are all channels. I've learned this in some really beautiful and also some very difficult ways. Early on in the jungle, I found that in a place where there's so many species, there's so much spiritual activity. And wherever there's a lot of spiritual activity, we find that our thoughts turn to physical manifestations faster. When we're in these places that are like these portals, yeah? Those manifestations come so much faster. And I saw that when my mind was cycling and I was just new in the jungle and cultivating and growing gardens and doing something really wonderful that I loved doing and that was very peaceful for me. But yet I still, you know, wherever you go, you can't get away from yourself. You know? And while I was going to the jungle to find and discover and to really refine and understand more deeply my own personal medicine, and that was all good, there was a part of me also that was trying to escape something. There was part of me that was trying to escape a certain part of society that I disliked and wished wasn't, and wished it was easier and things were more in alignment with nature. And so that part of me that was avoiding something was also fighting against my own thoughts and my own feelings, those inner conflicts. And what I found started to happen was that ants started biting me. I'd be like, rah, 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 rah. Then an ant would come and bite me. I'm like cultivating, cleaning around a fruit tree, and boom, a termite nest opens up in the tree when I hit a branch, and they dump on my head. And I'm like, and at first, you know, it's, oh, motherfucker, right? It's like, you get angry, right? So I run, I would jump into the water, jump into the shower, get them off me. And then I was like, I get it. We're all one. This is something we hear, but what does that mean? We're all connected. We're all one. And we are. You know, in that space of love and that space of divinity that runs through all of us and runs through all of nature, we are all one. We're all messengers for each other. We're all medicine for each other. And somehow in this culture we've determined that, oh, well, we can be medicine for each other, but where is the insects in all of this? What is their role? What is the role of the animals? What is the role of the plants? And I started to realize that these insects that were biting me, that they were medicine, that they were teachers, that they had come to teach me a lesson. And some might say, oh, well, that's a hard lesson, what jerks, right? No. What was happening was when they would bite me, I was here. Now, I was out of my head, and I was in the moment. So I learned that instead of letting my mind run away with upset and frustration and turning away and avoiding the lesson, I started to say thank you. And even though maybe my toe was throbbing, you know, that spicy fieriness of a red ant, I just sat with it and I breathed through it, and I realized that they were bringing me to the moment. They were helping me to understand that I was creating my reality in that moment. And that was so empowering when I started to do that work, and I started to go in deeper with the medicine ayahuasca. And so, does everybody, you're all familiar with ayahuasca? Does anybody know? Okay. So I'll just touch real briefly. When I was 21, I had the opportunity when I was in the Amazon to drink the sacrament ayahuasca, which is a medicinal brew which comes from two different plants, the ayahuasca vine and the chacruna leaf. And the ayahuasca vine has been revered as a sacred plant by the indigenous people for a long, long time. There are, Incan kings who were buried with ayahuasca in their tombs. Okay? This was a plant which helped the indigenous peoples to connect with the divine. It helped them to remember who they were and what they were and where they came from and how to connect with the source. The source that we all come from and that we all are, and the source that connects each of us in all moments. It's a medicine that when we drink it in the context of a sacred ceremony, it comes in and it cleanses our body. It's a teacher that this body is our sacred vessel. It's a sacred vessel of our soul. And our soul is in direct communion and direct connection with the source of all. Yet, when our body is uncleansed, whether it's, contaminated with toxins, poisons, pesticides, all kinds of different issues, right, that we have in our world today, heavy metals, all of these different things, that vessel gets blocked. And when that vessel is blocked, part of our soul, our energy, our life force, doesn't really want to be there. It doesn't, it's like, okay, so it lives partially in and partially out. And so that feeling that we sometimes have when we're not well, when our body is toxic or our body is, really blocked up, we're like, something's missing. Something is missing. And part of the path to really embody and to ground that energy of our own soul is beginning to honor this body as that sacred temple, to cleanse and to purify our bodies, remembering that it is a sacred technology. Yeah? This is not just a temporary, meat suit, as it is actually a technology. And the deeper and deeper we go, and the more science discovers, and the deeper you go into the shamanic world, you realize, wow, this is actually a vessel and a technology that we can learn about for our entire lives, and we should absolutely seek to continue to master our understanding of what this thing is that we're walking around in. Yes, we're going to leave it behind, and yes, it's going to go back to the earth. But here and now, in each moment, it is our ticket to communion with the divine, our ticket to be able to transmit those divine frequencies into all of our relationships and into our work, into the things that we're here to bring, the servitude that we're here on this earth to bring to all beings. Now, I'm kind of meandering a bit, but I kind of want to touch on this nature of oneness and this nature of, what we could call interbeing. Because we really truly are all connected, and we really truly are, as much as our minds would like to tell us that we are all on these independent journeys, and yes, while that's true on one level, and we're also part of a greater organism. And the earth is part of our organism. The air is part of our organism. The water is part of our organism. And the fire. Yeah? We truly are. We have water running through our entire body, 70%. But yet, look at the state of the water on this planet. We've contaminated it, we've polluted it, right, collectively, and we've ignored it. We've turned our backs on it. And when we turn our backs on the water of this planet, we're also turning our backs on ourselves. So people ask the question a lot, and you hear, like, are things too far gone? Is there anything we can truly do to change it? And I 100% believe that yes, we can. And part of that path and that process of evolving and growing as beings in really honoring the waters and the soil and the air of this planet is by learning to honor all of those elements within our own beings here and now. The waters are very sacred, and the water carries memory. Our thoughts are amplified through the waters of our own body. They're amplified through the waters of the earth. Many indigenous people would pray over water, would sing to the water, sing to the river. And while there are many belief systems out there in the world, and that would say that's good, and others would say, well, that's actually, you're kind of connecting with a false idol or any of these types of things. The water is part of that divine frequency, and the sooner we arrive at that place of that the divine is part of all of us, and we can reach and connect and commune with the divine through absolutely anything we choose. I've been doing these practices with insects. Now, it was something that ayahuasca started to teach me as I started to drink ayahuasca in my apprenticeship in isolation in the forest to learn from this wise plant. I started to learn, at first I was like, okay, plants can teach. Like, that was one of the first things. Okay, like, this is amazing and strange, right? It took me a while to really accept that, like to really understand that plants were conscious. Yeah? And as I went deeper and as I started to work with ayahuasca is revered in the Amazon as the mother of all the plants. So when we drink ayahuasca, we get to connect with the natural world in a way unlike any other experience that I've ever been able to take part in. The plants started to speak to me. And I realized the plants have a voice. The plants have their own souls. They have their own plan. They have their own desires. And this was also very interesting to me because it was like, okay, well, it's like just like this over soul, but actually they have these ideas. They're creative, and they need us. This was something that started to come through, that the plants need us. And the plants are always trying to get our attention. I learned this in the jungle with the indigenous people who were coming, who had been kind of started this process of separation as they moved out of living off the land and started moving to the villages and started to feel this distrust or confusion about how to connect with their ancestral ways. And some, people in the village would come and they would say, well, I have this health issue, can you help me? And at first I was like, well, you guys know better than me. You've been here for, how many generations? This is your land. These are your plants. And I realized that it doesn't take long for people to forget, for people to lose their path, to lose their way, for that channel to start to get a little blocked. So out of love and compassion, I said, yes, okay. I will do anything in my ability to help and support. And in the beginning, I would start to work and close my eyes and kind of sometimes I would go into ceremony, invite them into ceremony to come up with a remedy. But after a while, I learned that there were plants right outside their doors that were trying to get their attention. That there were plants that they, every day, with their machete, they would clean, their walkway. The side of their house. There were plants trying to climb into their house. And many times, those were the same plants that they needed. And those plants crossing the walkway, and they're like, oh, get out of my way. Boom, just blocking, right? Just cutting the branch, not reading the signs. But the plants were trying to get their attention. They were saying, hello, I can help you, right? And life is doing that to us all the time. Even the insects. I started to learn that the insects have a tale to tell. The insects have medicine. The insects have teachings. And I started to learn over the years in my own practice and starting to work with tree medicines and all kinds of different plants and drinking them in isolation in the forest without talking to other people. My intuition started to open and the plants started to speak. But I realized I had to learn to be present. I had to learn to close my eyes. I had to learn to trust. And that was a process. But when I started to close my eyes and know what I needed to do, and I started to ask the creatures questions. When they would come, if a dragonfly would come and would land there, because I was in these isolated conditions where there was no one to talk to, I started talking to the trees. I started talking to the water. I started talking to the dragonflies and the birds in the morning and the monkeys. And when I went inwards, I started asking them questions. Started saying, thank you for coming. Do you have a message for me? And those creatures started to respond. And most of the time they didn't have these long monologues and they didn't go on and tell these grand stories. It was like these very small little messages, You would read on like your little tea bag, your yogi tea. And they would have these little messages, words of wisdom. And I started thanking them for coming and then allowing them to go on their way. And then I started to find that more and more, there's a little inchworm. And so often, even in the shamanic world, we think about, everything is alive. Even everything we think is not alive is alive, right? But we think about these things in the shamanic world of, your power animal. Okay, your power animal, your jaguar, right? Your moose, right? Your boa, your eagle. He's very dominant and often also, in many cases, predatory animals, right? They carry a very strong energy. But you don't hear so often about these small creatures, the frog. And yet they started carrying messages to me that started nourishing my life. And it started to open me up to realizing that everything is alive. And all of these things that we have somehow been taught, whether it's directly or indirectly, that these things aren't conscious, that we can't have these dialogues with these aspects of life. It's just not true. And what I started to realize, and this is an interesting experience, I was playing my drum and I started to realize that my drum was alive. And the more I played my drum, and the more I prayed over it, and I blessed it before playing, I started to realize that the drum was coming alive. And one might say, the skin is made out of a buffalo, and and the wood is made out of, willow, and, your mallet, you have some rabbit fur, and so maybe there's the memory of these creatures that are infused in this instrument. And so there's some memory and energy connected to that. But what I started to realize was, yes, while that is true, and the drum began to take on its own life, its own personality, become its own entity. Because everything is connected. We're all part of the same stuff. Every single one of us, and everything in existence. That which we think is alive and that which we think is not alive, is alive. And the more energy and love and prayer and intention we infuse into anything in our life, the more it can bring back to us. I started to learn that with my pipe. I have a tobacco pipe carved in the shape of an eagle, and the eagle is the harpy eagle is one of my guiding and power animals that I've been connecting with so much over the last 15-20 years, and has brought me so many messages through dreams, so many messages through ceremonies. And so I had a friend carve me a pipe with the head of the eagle. And when I would smoke that pipe, before I would always bless it. I would set an intention for what I was to use that pipe for. And initially this was something that I was witnessing my teachers do. And they would tell me, that the pipe would someday become alive. But I was like, okay, what do you... All right, but until you experience it, it's not real, right? It doesn't necessarily mean all that much until you have that personal experience. And then I started to experience that I didn't even need to smoke it anymore. I could just hold it. And when I would just blow into it and bless it, I could just suck a little bit and tune into it. And when I was working with ayahuasca, I would find, wow, the wood, which is palisangre, which is bloodwood, one of the hardest woods in the Amazon, okay, it would start to shine. And I was like, wow, it carries such a strong energy, like a really strong, grounded energy. And then I started to realize I would ask the pipe questions, and the pipe would start to give me answers. And then one day, I decided I was going to take a photograph. I didn't know why I was taking this photograph until later. And I was in my garden with all of my chacruna bushes, all the leaves which contain DMT that we add to the ayahuasca to bring the visions, the colorful visions. And I took a few photographs. And then I looked at them. And I was there and I had my pipe. And I looked at the smoke. And out of five photographs, 3 of them had the smoke with an eagle looking straight at me. So I was like, whew, okay, that's another level, Okay, it's alive, right? And all of this connection with the eagle through this pipe has really made that eagle energy come more alive in it. And then I did some experiments other times, taking 20 pictures. And still, again and again and again, the eagle shows up. The eagle in my pipe is looking out, and the eagle in the smoke is looking towards me. These are just signs, right? And there are signs all around us every day. If we begin to open our eyes and open our hearts to that. Medicine shows up in our lives in so many different ways. Medicine shows up in both these, blissful experiences, when we need upliftment. And medicine can also really trigger us. Can also bring up what we don't like. Medicines, as James was saying, often are bitter, right? And like ayahuasca and so many of the other bitter medicines, they are masters of pulling bitterness to the surface so that we can release it. But before we can release it, we have to acknowledge it. We have to sit with it. We have to be with it. When those feelings come up, we have to feel them. And I just want to share. I know a whole bunch of you here today have sat in ceremony with us over the years in the Amazon, in Pittsburgh, in many different locations. Over the last number of years, we've been traveling. We have a place in Peru, been living in Florida. We come up here every year, once or twice. Vermont, New York, go up to Canada, sharing the gifts and the blessings of ceremony and the blessings of the medicine path with so many different people. And one of the beautiful things that I experience, often, people who are new to the medicine path ask, like, why should I drink medicine? Okay, I never try to sell anybody on the idea of drinking medicine, because I really believe that when someone is ready, they will receive the call. It will be clear. 9 times out of 10, people know. It's something, things happen, synchronicities start happening. Somebody mentions something, and then, or you have an experience and you start researching something else, and then you end up there. And then you meet somebody who did ceremony, and then you meet somebody else, and then somebody else. And all the experiences start leading you into this inquiry. Wow, maybe this could work for me. Maybe this could help me to release some of those really suppressed emotions. Could help me to overcome some of this deeply seated, ancestral or childhood trauma that I've been carrying. Now, we know in this world, nobody gets out unscathed. Whether we can try to avoid it. Yet our experiences and the things that we've gone through, they're also the things that connect us. And if we don't find a safe space to open up and to connect, then we're going against our own nature. And so when we create a circle, when we create an environment for ceremony, we invite people to bring all aspects of themselves, all of those parts of themselves that they typically stuff down inside, hide in the closet, keep away from their partners and their families and their co-workers and all of that stuff. And we say, all aspects of you are welcome here. Yeah? And when we can come together and leave at the door, leave at home, leave in our car, all the identities, I am this is, here's my business card, here's my titles, this is, my education, here's all these things, and show up as a being. This is a being, another one of billions of beings. We're all asking these questions. Who am I? What am I? Because one thing I've discovered in this work is every single person you think has it all together. Inside, they're going through their own journey. So many people who are offering, guidance to others, and people are like, oh, they have it all together. They have all the answers. Yet they're still going through their process. They still struggle in many different ways in their lives. Yeah? And it shows up in imposter complexes and all kinds of different conflicts, because the outer conflicts are a reflection of the inner conflicts. And so much in life we don't share those vulnerable things because we've been somehow taught directly or indirectly that our vulnerability is our weakness. The medicine path teaches us that our vulnerability is our strength, that what we have deemed is our curse is actually our medicine. And it takes a little bit of a shift, and we have to go through a personal transformation. And so many of us on this planet are in this and need this on a regular basis in our lives. Whether it's a quarterly thing, whether it's an annual thing, we all need a time and a space where we can just be, where we can be loved, where we can be accepted, where we don't have to be anything other than what we are, which is something that we cannot explain. And where we can pray and we can open up to the possibilities that we are something far beyond our wildest dreams. The possibility that maybe who we thought we were was just a tiny grain of sand of the real story. Now this is the process, that unfolds, and it unfolds infinitely. Ceremony is a space where we can come to commune with the infinite. That's something, we look up at the sky and we're like, okay, like it's amazing and it's scary how expansive this world and this universe is. And that's us. Each of you have a universe inside of you. And we are all part of one greater universe. We are. Always expanding, always evolving. And when we feel stuck, it's because we're going against our own nature. Think of that. The nature of life. A lot of times people are like, oh, I want to do more than just live. I want to be something. I want to do something that's meaningful. But yet, truly living is all of that and more. Truly living means an embodiment of the great expanse of all of the cosmos and all of the possibilities. We are all creating in any moment. Often, we can read books and be like, I want to manifest. But the truth is we're all manifesting all the time. It's just, what are we manifesting? Are we manifesting our nightmare? Are we manifesting our, most expansive, most beautiful, loving dreams? Every day we're manifesting. We look around, we may like what we see, we may not like what we see, but the beautiful thing is, it's all within our control. Yeah? The medicines have taught me that we are antennas, and our thoughts, and our feelings, and how we carry our own physiology, our own body, helps us to tune to different frequencies. Yeah? And so we can be having thoughts that are really toxic. And we could think, oh, it's because of this person, or maybe it's because of me, maybe there's something wrong with me, I'm stuck, I can't get out of this. But yet, throughout time, there have been practices for helping people to come back to a place of center. We could talk about balance, like that's this fleeting thing. Because if everything is always changing and always expanding in its true nature, try balancing in that. It's like, it's a wave. We're all just riding that wave of life, right? We just like, oh, it's balance, I need to seek balance. We're always grabbing for it. But yet, it's here now, being with our nature, being with that essence of love that we are, which exists within all plants, which exists within all animals, which exists within all of you, which exists within the stars. Yeah? All of my relations, every single being on this earth, those that we believe are alive and those are not, are all part of our relationships. They're all part of our family. Yeah? And in the circle of ceremony, yeah, they're all welcome. Yeah? To realize and remember why they're here too. Yeah? To realize and remember that we're not separate. That the needs of the earth are our needs. And our needs are the needs of the earth, the true needs. Not just the frivolous desires. Yeah? And so I just kind of want to create a bridge here. A few years ago, we've been running a healing center in the Amazon for many years, and we've been welcoming people there to go through transformational processes some people who are, just dealing with, the quandaries or the wonderings of, what am I meant to do in this life? What is my medicine? What is my purpose? What are my gifts? I want to do something of value, and how do I do that? And want to explore that, because it's not something anybody can give to you. We have to explore that nature of who we are, to come up with that path, to be able to have that path illuminated for us. And so we work with, in the Amazon, a whole bunch of different plants and vines and trees, who all have different qualities of medicine, who some help us to feel really grounded, some help us open our hearts, some help us on directly physiological levels to help us to cleanse and purify and calibrate and balance our nervous systems, help us with our heart, help us with joint problems, circulatory problems, also help us balance our chemistry, our hormones, our brain chemistry, and then there's the trauma, right, that people are coming with, that feel like it's kind of, on some levels it's controlling certain aspects of their life, and they want to become empowered to create without this kind of silent, shadowy, leader, right? And we're like, okay, go away, right? But we have to address it. We have to be with it. We have to see what does that part of us need, and give it to ourselves, and learn, to make that space and set that container for ourselves. And that's what we do in the jungle. We invite people to take that time and to take that space to go within, to learn about themselves, to discover themselves, to heal deeply seated issues, sometimes of people with chronic issues, long-term issues, serious diseases, coming to really heal. And one thing that I've learned throughout this path with the medicine is that when we have a serious issue, when we have a serious disease or imbalance, these are what we would call initiations. Okay? One might call it a crisis. Many initiations show up as crises, because there's something in our life that we've been avoiding, and in many cases we know exactly what it is. Many cases our intuition comes up and we know what we're supposed to do to care for ourselves or to move forward in a certain way, and we deny and we suppress. And the more and more and more we do that, our organism is kind of starting to reject us, because we're going against the nature of our own life, the essence of who and what we are. We're also, in many ways in that regard, going against the evolution of our soul. Which is one of the reasons why we've come here. And so this is one of those things that's so hard to accept for a lot of people, that, okay, I did this. And whatever the healing journey is for you, and wherever you're at and whatever you're going through, and everybody has something. The biggest turning point is the point when you realize that you're empowered. No matter how much you feel like you're a victim in different areas or different aspects of your life, you are empowered. You have the ability to begin to change that course. And so often in life and in society, we get obsessed with this idea of holding our shit together. Don't let it fall apart. Pack it on. I could get power through. And eventually our body and our nervous system starts to get kind of fritzed out, right? Because it doesn't want to hold on to everything. It doesn't want to power through. It wants also to release and to let go. And this is a part of, why we do ceremony when we come back. A lot of times people ask, how often is it good? It's like, well, we know when we need to come to ceremony, or when we need to come to a practice that allows us to release and to purge in the jungle, in Asia. There's many different traditions around the world where purging is a part of their culture. In Asia, you might see people hacking, spitting, and someone in the States might say, "Oh, that's vulgar." But there's phlegm, there's contaminants that they're releasing, and that's a good thing. Yeah, and in the Amazon, the locals know. They know when things aren't working in my life, when there's conflicts, when nothing seems to be going my way, I need a cleansing. I need a purge. And so many of them, they're like, okay, I need to go to a curandero, I need to go to a shaman to help me to cleanse my vessel. Because I know that when my vessel is pure, my vessel is clean, good things happen in my life. Things flow. Beautiful relationships come. Beautiful opportunities, work, money, the whole thing. Health. It all flows. So letting go, letting go, letting go. We do plant baths for letting go. We bathe in plants. Plants designed, with properties, antibacterial and antifungal for taking away those dense energies. And we infuse the baths with flowers and prayers for bringing in the blessings. Like the flowers attract the bees and the butterflies and those beautiful fluttery beings to the plant. They also bring those things and those blessings into our lives when we work with them. We drink vomitivos, which help us to purge. And as people like many times in this culture, like, oh, I don't like to throw up. Many people are like, I don't want to throw up. Can I avoid this? Right? It's like, yes, you can avoid it. But the thing is about the purge is there's emotions there. Woo. Like most people are masters at suppressing. This is, we've become very good at it. And the purge is important. Whatever it is, whether it means doing a detox, cleansing out your digestive system, cleaning out parasites, heavy metals, all of these things, right? Fungal imbalances, candida, all of that, right? You release, you let go, because attached to all of these things and all of these toxins are emotions. So you're like, oh, that's toxic. Okay, that's a toxin which came from these cleaning products that I used over the course of many, many years. But attached to those properties, to those chemicals, are emotions of a like frequency. So when we cleanse our body, we make space by getting rid of those stuck emotions and those stuck energies. And when we go through that process, somebody might say, well, I don't feel good. I feel sad, I feel angry, this stuff is coming up, I have diarrhea. It's like, good. Better out than in. When we drink ayahuasca, one of the first things that happens is you feel in your stomach like, ooh, there's something to come out. And so often in the process, people think, I'm sick. And they have but woo, it's like a mantra. What are you telling your body? The thing is, these medicines are designed, and so many plants and herbs are designed to pull sickness out of the body. The sickness that was already there, the sickness that we put in there by holding on, by not letting go. And so in those experiences, we learn to say things to our bodies like, I'm getting well. Wow, what a blessing. Thank you for helping me to get rid of this, because man, that feels pretty shitty. I'm so glad that I'm making space, because when we're making space, we choose what to fill it with. Yeah? And so I started many years ago Avatar Apothecary, which is a company where I produce a lot of different tinctures from Amazonian master plants. So master plants are plants that have the ability to teach. Okay, they're not all psychedelic plants. Okay, in the Amazon there are thousands of master plants. These are the plants that healers diet meaning they drink the plant in isolation as a part of a spiritual diet to learn how to heal people, to learn first how to heal themselves, so they can then guide people through a healing process. And through the process with the plants, they teach us about ourselves, they teach us about the nature of reality, which is always more than what we have previously perceived. And they help us to open our hearts, they help us to cleanse our bodies, but also protect us energetically. So often, we work with a lot of healers and people who are very empathic and work in, whether it's social work, whether it's, therapy scenarios, or in hospitals, in lots of different situations like that where people are going to unload. People are going to dump. People are going to get rid of the things that they don't want anymore. And that creates an aura, it creates a field of energy in that space. And so a lot of times, people in these kinds of situations start going home, you start feeling tired. Over the course of many years, it can lead to autoimmune issues, which is why working with herbs in a really conscious way, knowing what plants can really help you to cleanse your physical body, yes, cleanse your blood, but also help you and support you energetically when you bring your consciousness to the table. And so there's so many different teacher plants here all around. They're everywhere in the world, and I encourage you all to work with plants. I encourage you all to talk to the plants. I encourage you all to sing to the plants. Before I say one last thing and close, I want to share just one piece. Amazonian shamans have been singing to the plants for centuries. One of the things that I remember hearing, a curandero was asked by a Western medical doctor why, when they took a plant that was recommended to them by a jungle shaman for curing a particular thing, and they did all this research to show, okay, this actually can help to heal this particular issue, and then they extracted and they synthesized it and they put it into a pill, and they started serving it to these people as part of a study, and they found it was not effective. So they went back to the shaman and asked, why is it not working? He said, first and foremost, you didn't sing to it. You didn't sing to the spirit of the plant. And they're like, what? That's crazy. Right? He's like, you think it's crazy. It's like, do it. See what happens. They've been doing that for so long. And I read this study the other day, which was about the interaction between birds and the trees. On the underside of a tree's leaves and any plant are these little holes that you can only see under a microscope. And this is the pores through which, I can't remember the term, the plant breathes. At night, those pores close up. And in the morning, it is the bird's song which opens them and allows the plant to open its pores and start to breathe again in the morning. Think about that. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. And there's all kinds of different studies now with hooking electrodes onto plants, and and we know you play classical music to one plant, and you play death metal to another, and and you can see the difference in their growth and their expression. Yeah. And so this is something that's very real. Our interaction with life matters. It makes a difference. To protect the birds is so important. To protect all of the creatures of this earth is to protect yourself. To love yourself is to love all of life. And so, before I close, I just want to, does anybody have a tea? Yeah? Can everybody get up and get some sort of beverage? some sort of tea that we have over there. We have the cacao, we have the blue lotus, and we have, what's the other one? Chuchuasha. So I just want to do a quick practice before we move on to our next portion, the sound portion. Once you have your tea, come back to your seat. So while y'all are coming back to your seats, I just want to share that this practice we're about to do, which just takes a couple of moments, is something you can do at any point in your day, on any day, with any plant that you choose. Okay? You can do it with your food. You can do it with anything that you're about to put into your body. So, do you all know which plants you got? Okay, remember the blue lotus, okay, which is very opening and intuitional. This is a very sacred plant. The chuchuasha, which is a tree from the Amazon, which is very grounding and very strengthening, is a very balanced masculine and feminine energy, which helps with pain and arthritis, also digestive issues. And then the cacao with the cardamom. And the cardamom is great for the heart, for circulation, and the cacao is, very, very heart opening. Yeah. Now, I want you all to take a moment to close your eyes and to call to the name of the plant or plants that are in the tea that you have. And I want you to thank them for being. And I want you to infuse within them a prayer, an intention that you have for your life, for your being today, tonight, and ongoing. And ask the spirit of the plant to work through you to bring into your life the blessings that you are asking for and that you are needing, however they are meant to divinely show up in your world. To thank the spirit of the plant by name, and thank your body for receiving and being open to receive the blessings of this beautiful plant spirit, which is a messenger from the great divine. your tea. Now, this is a beautiful practice you can incorporate into your life. I highly recommend doing it before meditation or before sleep. And you can call the spirits of the plants into your dreams to bring you teachings, to bring you guidance. And you can keep a dream journal and, and track the journey. Yeah. They work in very mysterious ways. And some of you will be able to recognize their messages and their teachings within one night, and many of you, it might take some weeks to begin identifying the messages. And when you do this, it will also enhance your dreams. So if you're someone who doesn't dream that often or doesn't remember your dreams, when you have an intentional time before, and you're drinking a plant, it's like any plant can help to open up your dreams when you connect with it intentionally. You can sing to the plants, or you can talk to them, you can whisper to them, you can speak out loud, or you can speak internally with the remembrance that whatever you say or do, your message will be heard. It's all about your presence and coming to the moment and focusing enough, not being distracted, being centered, which is a journey. So thank you so much for listening and coming on this journey. And we have these beautiful tinctures that I prepared from many sacred plants from the Amazon. The Bobinsana, which is an amazing plant with a mermaid spirit who is really, coming to help us to open our hearts and to open up to the energy of grace and flow and creativity in our lives. We have combination remedies with several different master plants, such as the serum, which is for boosting the immune system, which is a powerful remedy, which came to me in a vision to help my wife, who was struggling with a number of different health-related issues, and after drinking it for 2 weeks, things that she'd been struggling with for several months just went away. Just things that were like, oh, am I going to be like this for the rest of my life? Is this just going to be, am I just going to die? You know what I mean? We all go through these times, right, as we're aging. The peace that makes all the difference when the plant has everything that you need. If you want to magnify its potency and its effect, you do what we just did right there. You commune and you connect with the spirit of that plant. You honor the spirit of that plant as a part of you, as a part of the whole, as a part of your own organism. Yeah. And you love it like you want to feel the love for yourself in your own being. We have medicines for balancing hormones and reducing menstrual cramping. There's medicines over there for prostate-related issues and prostate inflammation. There's a remedy for really opening up more shamanic dreams, especially for people who have been, not remembering their dreams for significant periods of time. And I, just want to plant the seed that excessive cannabis consumption, often for most people, 80-90% of people, will lead to a reduction of remembering your dreams. And it's like we see this across the board. And remembering your dreams is important. Okay. All these plants, these are medicines. Also, cannabis is a powerful medicine, but they all have their dosage. And when we exceed the dosage, we start dishonoring the plant. The moment we become, it just becomes like a thing that we do without thinking, without presence. It's just like, think about any relationship in your life. The moment you stop showing up and you're just around because they're around, you're just doing it because that's what is there. Do they feel honored? Do they start bringing you beautiful gifts in your life? Probably not. So the same thing is with the plants. So check in with your relationship with these plants, whether it's with coffee, whether it's with tobacco, whether it's with cannabis, whether it's in, whatever plants. This is why in the practices of the Amazonian traditions, every great and powerful medicine plant should also be abstained from for periods of time, so our body remembers how to do what it needs to do on its own, and so we don't take it for granted. When we create that distance, we become less dependent, and then we realize, really, it's all in the relationship. So thank you so much. If any of you are interested in purchasing tinctures, we have them available. We've got some beautiful deals for collections of them, and come on up and inquire. And in just after that, Pam's gonna come up and offer you a beautiful sound journey with Icaros of the plants, the spirit songs of the plants.
Thank you.